Hey, this is Pops from Jacksonville, Florida. You're watching the Living in Las Vegas podcast on the Vegas Video Network.
Pops!
Buckle your seatbelts and pour yourself a stiff drink. You're going to need both.
Hey, on today's Living in Las Vegas. Well, you know, there was a time when upwards of 5,000 people a month were moving to this town. It was the Wild West. Of course, with the economy falling apart, that number dropped off quite a bit. As a matter of fact, there was probably a deficit of people moving here for some time. But with the economy improving, housing market looks good, people are moving back to Las Vegas again. The truth is, there's a group of people who have no business doing so. We're going to be talking about them today. What's the top reasons why you should never move to Las Vegas? I've seen this behavior several times. It's not pretty. Plus, we've got real quick stories, live chat questions, listener email, and of course, have a drink on me. This is the Living in Las Vegas podcast. Let's get started. Keeping the riffraff out, baby. Living in Las Vegas starts now.
Yes, it does. Let's go, folks.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome from Las Vegas, Nevada. That groovy little podcast that gives you a true first-person look into what it's like to call Sin City your home. The Living in Las Vegas podcast.
That's it, baby. Let's go.
You're killing me, Smalls.
And now your host, a man who clearly needs some kind of introduction, otherwise you wouldn't know who he was. Sing it with us, Scott. Mr. Scott Whitney. Hey, welcome everybody to the Living in Las Vegas podcast here on the Vegas Video Network. Well, aren't you sweet? It's very nice of you. And by the way, congratulations, because you are watching the longest running podcast about Las Vegas that actually originates from Las Vegas. Now, by the way, it's hosted by, well, normally a couple crazy kids who've been living here for a combined total of 30,000 years, but we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But here's what's going to happen. We're not only going to be covering what it's like to live here, but we're going to tell you about our adventures on the Strip, Fremont Street, downtown, other cool places here in the Valley. And by the way, if you're a tourist, if you're a fan, you're a visitor of the big Las Vegas, let me tell you something. This show is very much like your own secret handshake of all things cool and groovy. Hey, we're live every Tuesday, 7 o'clock Pacific time at vegasvideonetwork.com/live. Again, vegasvideonetwork.com/live. Join us, be a part of the fun, and be a part of the show. The live chat is an integral part of this show. Some of the coolest people I've had the good fortune to work around and hang out with. They are very, very cool people. And here's the deal. They are so into each other, they don't even need me. These people show up an hour before the show and they're talking, hey, how's the job search? When are you going to Vegas? These guys are cool. Get into the live chat. Have some fun with them. I promise you're going to have a good time. Hey, I'm your host, Scott Whitney. Konnichiwa. Buenas noches. How you doing, hot stuff? Great to have you here. Excuse me. I am the owner of the Vegas Video Network. So if you like it, you can thank me. If you don't like it, well, blame Danny or Pops or, I don't know, Bob, any of those guys. I've been an online broadcaster for 10 plus years, professionally for 10 years. And to think I get paid for doing this. Now, what's the over-under? The over-under for today, we're going to probably shoot at about 85, no hook, 85 minutes for the big show. And I want to address something real quick here. Normally, I do this show with a partner. I do it with Brett Grant. Now, for those of you who've watched the show or listened to the show for some time, you know Brett is the managing partner at KSHP Radio here in Las Vegas. He is an excellent broadcaster, a good friend. As many of you also know, he has been fighting cancer now for several years and has been doing so successfully. But let me explain why he's not here right now. So he started a new treatment. As a matter of fact, he's in a clinical trial. And unlike other treatments that he's done, which have been in Las Vegas, this particular trial is 100% in Los Angeles. Specifically, he's at USC. And so what he has found himself doing is he's going back and forth to LA every week. Everything from blood tests and whatever else they do, he has to be in LA for that. As a matter of fact, he told me today that if it wasn't for the blood tests having to be there, he would be there maybe once a month. But because he's got to go back for every single thing in this particular clinical trial, what ends up happening is it's caused a conflict in the schedule. So he's usually down there at the beginning of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Of course, we do this show on Tuesdays, so it's just become a scheduling issue for him. So he is officially on hiatus for now. Now, the treatment is promising. Things are looking up and well. I had a chance to speak with Brett today. He sounded great. It was kind of funny because when I called him to ask him how he wanted me to talk about this, he kind of jumped in with, you can replace me. It's okay. I won't, no hard feelings. And I'm like, pump the brakes, big fella. I didn't say anything about replacing you. I just want to know what you want me to say about why you're not here. I really think he thought I was going to go, yeah, Brett, well, you got to go. I'm going to go bring somebody else in. So, here's what I told him and what I'll tell everybody else who's watching or listening, and that is I will welcome him back when he wants to come back. The phone is ready. The bat phone is, I will pick up, and he says go, we will go. And I expect that will happen. He's a pretty bad mamma jamma, and I expect he will kick the shit out of this next round of issues he's been fighting with. Now, in the meantime, what are we going to be doing here? Well, we'll probably do a couple solo shows like I'm doing right now, but we'll probably bring in some guest hosts. I expect Pimpin' Wayne will be back in more often now, but we hope to keep the show groovy and happening, and I hope you guys still enjoy it. By the way, finally, if you're one of those folks who believes in a higher power, and I know Brett does, I would invite you to pray for Brett. I'm sure he would appreciate that. And even if you don't believe in such things, I expect he would appreciate the positive thoughts along those lines as well. Okay, that said, new in the live chat, I just saw CB in Wisconsin. I think that's a new person. Just saw his name pop up, or her name. Don't know what her deal is, maybe, or his deal. If you could tell us what you're up to in the live chat, we'll talk about you. Also want to thank Pops. Pops is one of the backbones of our show. By the way, in the live chat, lots of really nice things being said about Brett. I really do appreciate that. Gilbert Gottfried. No, I won't be having Gilbert. You should ask me in the post show about Gilbert Gottfried. I've got a story about that guy. But yeah, Alan Perry's in the live chat. Look at that. Chester and Barb are the new folks. Hey, Chester and Barb. So yeah, put out positive thoughts for Brett. I'm sure he'd expect it or would enjoy that. Thanks to Pops. Pops is a huge contributor. It's people like Pops that make doing this show a lot of fun. So thank you so much, Gene, for playing along with us. He is a consistent contributor on everything we ask him to contribute. So that's very cool. He did a great job in the opening video. And if you notice, he shot the video like this as opposed to like this. So he gets extra points for that. Also, he gets an extra have a drink on me by doing that. I forgot that. That's the new rule. If you do the opening video, you get yourself an extra opportunity. All right, let's talk a little bit about what we're here to talk about. So we've done several shows that talk about the reasons why you should move to Las Vegas. We did one top 5 reasons to move here. It was a very popular show. Should you move to Las Vegas? We've talked about that as well. But we've never really addressed why moving to Las Vegas is a bad idea. But we're going to fix that today. There are a number of behaviors or belief systems that are absolutely detrimental to you coming and living in this town. So in the words of David Lee Roth, we are about to give you some fair warning here. We're going to talk about what you should not be thinking, what you should not be doing, where your head should not be if you expect to come to Las Vegas and actually thrive and enjoy yourself. All right, let's start with the top. Number 1, if you find yourself with a gambling addiction, do not come here. And even if you find yourself really liking gambling, maybe not. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on here. So clearly, these casinos are built on losers, not winners. You don't build billion-dollar casinos because the casinos lose. They build casinos because they're winning. And if you find yourself obsessed with gambling, even if it hasn't gone to addiction, but you really like it, you have to remember what happens here. You're probably never more than a mile away from an opportunity to gamble. Remember, every grocery store here has a little room with slot machines in it. Okay, well, I'll never gamble at a grocery store. Oh, well, that's great. How about a casino? My house is 2 miles away from a casino. My previous house was a mile away from a casino. My guess is wherever you live in Las Vegas, or I should say the Valley, you're probably between no more than 2, maybe 3 miles away from a casino. And I mean a real casino, not a Dottie's. I mean a real casino. So the opportunity to gamble is everywhere. It's prevalent. You can't get away from it. And by the way, this issue with gambling is a real issue. I'd invite you to look at the bottom of many casino websites. You'll see a little blurb that talks about responsible gaming. So, for example, every website within the Caesars entertainment world, every one of those websites has a link that says know when to stop before you start. In other words, they get it. And I looked around, other websites have that kind of information as well. They realize that while they want your money, they certainly don't want you to lose your house over it. And guess what? People lose their houses. You know, one of the things that we heard when we first moved here was that it's super easy to get really into the gambling world and kind of lose track of what's happening. And the next thing you know, you're not paying your rent or you're not paying your mortgage and you lose your house or you get kicked off. And this is a real deal. Here's something that's interesting that I thought was interesting. I have a friend who comes here quite a bit. Big fan, very well known by the casinos. I'm not sure what level this person is at, but not a whale, but they know who this person is. Comped for everything. So clearly this person gambles. And this person told me very specifically that they could not live here. Why? Because the access to gambling is way too easy. Because here's the truth. The greatest governor, the greatest thing to prevent you from gambling is McCarran. Right? If you're here as a tourist, you eventually have to leave. But if you live here and you can't control it, it's not good. So if you're a big-time gambler, this is probably not the place for you to live. Next, if you think you're going to be a professional gambler, you are in for a bad, bad day. Or maybe a day or so, a week, and then you're out. Here's what I mean. 2 types of professional gamblers. There's sports bettors and poker players, typically. So for anybody who has been watching the network for any amount of time, or have watched this show, for example, here's the deal on that. Most of you guys will know that I know a number of pro sports bettors, people who go out and use that as a means of earning income. Here's what you probably didn't know. None of them, not one of the pro sports bettors that I've had on this network, or I've talked to, or I've worked with and done other things for, not one of them used their sports betting as their sole income. Not one. And the reason is because it's hard. So here's a quick test. I'll ask you guys in the live chat first, but this is a question for everybody watching or listening as well. Ask yourself, how many bets do you have to win? We're going to do sports betting. How many bets do you have to win just to break even? How many bets do I have to win? In other words, what percentage of bets, I should say, do I have to win just for me to break even? I'll give you a few seconds to think about that. Now, it's interesting. The live chat is way high on all of this, way high, which is interesting. And Alan is more along the lines that what you would think. Here's the answer. to break even, you have to win 52.14% of your bets. So wait a minute. Why 52.14%? Why not 50-50? It's a 50-50 thing, right? Nope. Because you got to pay the VIG, right? When you bet with the casino, you have to pay the casino to be allowed for the privilege of betting there, right? So it's like 10% or you've heard the 110 or whatever. I don't know the numbers. I don't understand them. But for you to break even, you have to do 52.14%. Now, what kind of percentage do you do, or what kind of percentage can you get that makes you a god among men? And the answer is 60%. Now, a lot of people in the live chat thought you had to do 60% to break even. No. If you are able to win 60% of your bets, sports bets, you are considered a god in sports betting. I mean, like, holy Christ, you're going to be rolling in it. And guess what? Ain't nobody consistently doing that. As a matter of fact, one of the guys we had on one of our shows is the guy who goes by Teddy Covers. His name is Teddy Savransky. And you know, he did a show called Vegas Sports Day on the network some time ago. Pretty well known sports bettor here, and he has a bet he offers to anybody who mouths off and tells him how great their betting capabilities. And by the way, he hears this all the time, especially when he does meet and greets. Oh yeah, I'm doing 70%, I'm doing 80%, I'm kicking ass. Teddy's like, really? Oh, awesome. Here's what I'll do. I will bet you that, here, you pick any 10 games. You got to bet 10 games, not one. Got to bet 10 games. If you get 60% right, if you win 60% of those games, I will cover your wager on every one of those games. So basically, it was free wagering. However, if you don't get 60%, you pay me what you wagered. Guess how many people have taken them up on that bet? Nobody. Because when you get forced to think about it, you realize, holy shit, that's probably not a good idea. So don't come here thinking you're going to be a big bad sports bettor. It's not going to happen. But what about poker? Poker is much easier. It's very prevalent. You can practice. You can practice online. It's easy, all that good stuff. Okay, here's this. Here's the truth about being a professional poker player. I've got two good friends who are very good card players. And you can tell, right, by the way they watch other people play cards, if they happen to see it on TV, just the way they talk about when they've played against other people. You can tell, I can tell these guys are good. I certainly wouldn't invite them to Arches and play poker because they will kick my ass in that game. So you know they're good. Now, one of these guys actually doesn't live here full time, but owns a house, although I think he may have just sold it, owns a house in Las Vegas. They both visit Las Vegas often. They both play tournaments often. And here's the deal. They have both told me multiple times clearly they never would consider moving to Las Vegas and using poker playing as their sole income. Never, never, never. Why? Because it's too hard. So the times they've played poker, and usually when they're playing a tournament, I become aware of it. They mention it on Facebook or we're talking about it or whatever. My guess is that they have won maybe 10% of those tournaments. Maybe. It's probably less than 10%, but let's call it 10%. You can't make a living doing that. And here's the thing. The reason why they mentioned they would never do this, because you know what the biggest risk is in playing professional poker? It's not the other good poker players, because you know how they're going to think. You have a general idea. Well, if that's the flop, then 95% is this. No, the biggest risk is playing against people who don't have the first clue how to play. They're just in there fucking around, not knowing what. Oh yeah, I'm in. Let's go. Yeah. Those are the people who take down the big players because you don't know what the hell they're doing. So if you think you're going to be a professional gambler here, you are wrong. It's not going to happen. All right. Next issue, alcohol. Now, I'm not talking about folks who stay home and drink at home. You can do that anywhere. Vegas doesn't have actually it does have a small effect on that. But if you're going to drink at home because you want to drink at home, you're going to drink at home. The issue is that Las Vegas really invites you to belly up to the bar 24/7. And that's the big difference. There's a natural governor that prevents most folks from drinking 24/7, and that's last call, right? Think about it. In most places that have bars and such, 2 o'clock in the morning and you're done. You've got to go home. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here, right? In Las Vegas, last call really doesn't exist. As a matter of fact, 2 o'clock in the morning, hell, for a lot of places, things are just getting started. This is literally a 24/7 drinky town. So if you are the kind of person who goes out and goes, well, I'm going to go out and have a couple drinks, and when last call comes, I'm going to go home, that's my governor. That governor doesn't exist here. You're going to be in deep trouble. Deep, deep trouble. Now, what is interesting about Las Vegas and drinking is I assumed that we'd probably be in the top 10 cities in America when it came to DUI. And the facts are we're not. We're not in the top 10. I don't even know where we are, but we're not even close to the top 10. By the way, do you know where the top 10 is? It's states that have horrible weather, like the Dakotas. I think they're number 1 and number 2. It's freezing. What else are you going to do? You're going to drink and apparently drive. So if you have a hard time managing your social alcohol, your ability to go out and hang out with people and drink, do not come here, because we want you would think, as a state, as casinos, as bars, as restaurants, to come out and have a good time, and you don't have to go home. All right. The next 2 issues that I've seen here that cause people to leave have to do with the transient nature in Las Vegas. It really reflects this reputation we have where people kind of hang here for a while and then they take off again. And so the first one has to do with coming here with no job, which sounds ridiculous. Who would do that? But you'd be shocked how many people do it. And part of it is because, Vegas still has this Wild West vibe to it. And I think a lot of people come here and go, well, Vegas is kind of loose. I guess I could make it happen. Well, here's the deal. Don't do that. Yes, the economy is improving. There is no question about that. We're seeing it. Life is good. Things are building. More people are moving here, as I said. But it's still competitive from a job market. And depending on what you do, it can become even more competitive. I see people moving here, frequently enough where you start to see them get desperate. The jobs aren't around. The jobs aren't as easy as you would think. As a matter of fact, videographers do this a lot. I cannot tell you how many people have emailed me or left me a voicemail or tried to call me saying, hey, I'm Don Smith. I'm a new videographer here in Las Vegas. Just looking for a job. Saw your network. Want to know if you're hiring. What, you just moved here and didn't know? You had no plan? What the hell are you thinking? So videographers tend to do this a lot, but I see other folks doing this as well. If you're a couple, you and a spouse, you and a boyfriend, you and a girlfriend, whatever it is, one of you need to have a job before you come out here. If you don't, and I don't care if it's a Crackle Barrel, you just need to have a job and have it kind of figured out. Now, when Melissa and I moved out here, neither one of us had jobs in Las Vegas, which seems to go against what I'm telling you, but actually it doesn't. So when we moved out here, I at the time was doing music full time. I was selling CDs and I was playing private gigs. Didn't matter where I lived. And at the time we moved out here, Melissa was working for Google as a contractor. So she could work wherever she wanted. So we had no problem moving to Las Vegas from that regard. It was actually better for us because instead of paying California pricing for our cost of living and housing and everything, we came in at Las Vegas cost of living, which was, I think I've said before, the house we bought was 40% of the cost and 60% larger. You can't beat that, right? So it made sense. But I will tell you this, when Melissa decided she didn't want to work for Google anymore and wanted to work here locally because she didn't like the working from home, she wanted to interact with other people, well, it was a little weird. And it had nothing to do with her. Her credentials are amazing. A lot of people wanted her. But finding a company that, Pops Vegas has 2 Crackle Barrels. And you'll learn more about that a little bit later in the show. But for her to find a job in a company that she liked to work with, the first company she worked with, large company, pretty well known here in town, didn't much care for it. Wasn't great. She has been fortunate to land in a company now where she is working with people who are professional. She likes the people, she likes the company, she likes the products. That's great. But it took a while for her to get there, and we were able to support those moves. But she found a job the whole time. We didn't move here thinking we'll find a job to support ourselves. That's just completely insane. So please don't do that. And the other piece of this transient part is the lack of professionalism. And I've talked about this many, many times. This is a big rant for me. There's a higher concentration of unprofessional people here in Las Vegas than I've seen anywhere in my life. It is awe-inspiring how unbelievably unprofessional some people are. Here's a true story that happened to me last week. I had a co-op member in there, and this co-op member is shooting a talk show. Now, it's not on the Vegas Video Network. He's doing his own distribution, right? And so he brings in a guest to do this talk show. And before the guest was even there, the guest is like, can we do something other than what you've done in the past? So he's already just being kind of a little demanding. Who is the guy who does that? Well, anyway, so he comes in. So he comes in, and he's kind of a loudmouth, kind of a talky, this guy. He's got a product that he sells. So we sit him down on this set, and I can tell a lot of bravado there, but he was nervous. He didn't really know what the hell his own story was. So I spent some time talking to him about storytelling, how to tell a story, what people care, how do you bond with people? And he really liked it. And he said, wow, that was really great. That was really helpful. Thanks. And then we started to do some more. I could sense he was still a little bit, still kind of nervous. So I gave him another bit of tip about being nervous. I have a very specific tip about how to make nerves go away. It's a terrific tip. I gave him that tip, and he's like, wow, this is really great. Now, this is a guy, by the way, that my co-op member met in one of these marketing seminars, right? So take that as you will. So we go through this show, and it's 3 segments for an episode, and we shoot these segments separately, about 10 minutes each. So we shoot a segment, and we stop, and we ask about the next segment, and I provide more guidance to this guy, and this guy is effusive. Wow, this is really, really helpful. He's feeling more, into his stuff. He's really having a good time now. And he gets to the second, and then we do the third piece, and man, at the end of it, he's like, man, I killed it. I was great. And then he goes to the co-op member, this is going to be your best show ever because I was awesome. I'm like, okay, there you have it. And then he comes to me. And I'm sitting, for those of you who are co-op members or for those of you at the network, I'm sitting behind the TriCasters, and I'm, wrapping things up. And he's like, hey, I really want to, test your services. But basically he says, I need to have it for free. I'm like, what do you mean free? I just want to be able to test it without having to spend any money. So I said, we don't do that. You'd have think I'd have called his mom a whore. So next thing you know, he starts to get into my shit. Dude, you don't understand how it works. Huh? I feel like I do. You don't get it, man. That's the best way to get customers is to give it away for free. Yeah, I don't agree. He goes, no, I'm telling you, you've got to do this. I don't feel like I do. No, this is a. He goes, wait. How much do you make an hour? I'm like, well, we normally charge $350 an hour. He goes, that's all? That's all you're making? You got to be kidding me, man. You're leaving money on the table. He's on and on and blah. Now, this is, okay, so I'm like, okay, we're done. You can leave now. What? We're done. We're not going to do business. You need to leave my studio. So he drops off. Here's what was pretty interesting about this. And he's got what's called a lack of situational awareness. And this happens a lot here. He said he wanted it for free, right? Now, if you listen to that story, you'll recognize that I gave him 3 or 4, maybe 10 tips that didn't cost him anything. And more importantly, he told me 3 or 4 times, this is the greatest advice I've ever had. I'm really good. This is terrific. This is amazing. So he was unaware that what he was asking for, he already received. And by the way, if my $350 an hour is low, let's say he thinks I'm worth $1,000 an hour, well, I would be offering him a 65% discount. That's not good. That's what I mean. I could never imagine being in Silicon Valley in Northern California and having that kind of thing happen. It just doesn't, it's so foreign to me. And I used to like blow up at people and yell at them and just try to crush them verbally. And while there's something fun about that, after a while you're like, holy shit, this is ridiculous. What the hell am I thinking here? So I just kind of calmly go, I think it's time for you to go. And here's the thing for you unprofessional folks out there. Bad behavior is almost never reported back to you. Right? People don't tell you you're a douchebag. They just don't tell you. They stay the hell away from you. You'll never know until you starve to death. So this guy who has a product that, by the way, wasn't profitable. Oh, he had a business plan and everything, but he couldn't figure out how to be profitable. Oh, he had a retirement thing going, so he didn't need to be profitable. Oh, yeah, okay, that's interesting. My deal is this: stay the hell away. And this is my personal saying to everybody else. If you're not going to be professional, we got plenty of your type here already. Stay the hell away. Stay in Poughkeepsie or wherever. We don't need you. Okay, why else shouldn't you move to Las Vegas? Well, this is kind of an obvious one, but it's a real one too. And that is, it's hot here. The weather. Now, you hear this all the time. But it's a dry heat. But let me tell you something. So is an oven. And if you ever put your head in an oven, I will tell you, it's uncomfortable. This is a town, this is a city, where you're going to be in 100 degrees 5 or 6 months out of the year, maybe even more. But April, May, June, July, August, September, that's 6. 6 months out of the year, you're 100 degrees, your 90s and 80s around the other time too. But here's the thing that you have to remember, and most people don't remember this or don't even know this. And that is, when somebody says it's 100 degrees, they mean it's 100 degrees in the shade. Not in the sun. It's 100 degrees in the shade. In the sun, it's 15 to 30 degrees hotter. You're standing on grass, it's 15 degrees hotter. You're standing on asphalt, it's 30 degrees hotter. So it's not 100, it's 130. So if you're the kind of person who does construction, you're building houses, you're painting houses, you're fixing roofs, you're doing landscaping, think about it, because it's hot out here. Now, the truth is, you will acclimate. So my mom moved here in August one year, and she hated it. Hated it. She didn't really have any choice. She needed to be here because we were here. But the good news, you do acclimate eventually. You do get used to it. But I will tell you, from Melissa's perspective, from my perspective, there was one requirement that we had to have, and without it, we absolutely, positively would not move here, and that was a pool. If we couldn't get a pool, we weren't going to move here. It was that simple. And of course, you have to have air conditioning. And if you by the way, if you work in an air-conditioned environment, then the heat's not a big deal. But without a pool, I can't imagine living here. I just wouldn't do it. We built a pool in our first house, the house that we're in right now. That was easily number 1 or number 2 criteria is it had to have a pool. Without it, it's just not fun here. I actually know people who live here who don't have pools, and you know what they do on the weekend? They go to the casino pools because it's hot. So if you don't like hot weather, you're not going to like this. And by the way, another issue here is wind. It's super windy here, which sounds like it's not a big deal, but driving winds after a while get kind of annoying. So it's more of an annoyance than it is I'm leaving, you'd think. But I have a friend who lived in Las Vegas before I moved here. She's a gal that I knew back in the Bay Area. Nice gal. Came to Las Vegas by herself. Not really sure what her driving force there was. But she left. She moved out of Las Vegas before we got here. Now, arguably, because it might be because we moved here. I would say that wasn't the reason. But she said there were 2 reasons that made her move. The first was the wind, and the second is the final reason why you shouldn't come to Las Vegas. And that is she couldn't find anybody to date. If you're coming to Las Vegas to find a mate, I'd say no. Don't do it. that was her main thing. God, I cannot find anybody to date here. They're all kind of goofballs. They're all transient. They're all unprofessional. They're all kind of scummy little I want to get laid kind of folks. When I first thought about this, I'm like, please, come on. That can't be true. But then today, as I was thinking about this, I thought, wait a minute. Since I've been here, I can think of maybe 1, 2, maybe 3 single women who I thought they should have no problem getting married. That's in 10 years' time. Single guys, hard to say. But I think it's like going to school here, like, trying to find. Yeah, that's probably another one. If you're coming to Las Vegas because you hear the public schools are good, no, don't do that. That would be bad. But yeah, I have to believe her. I think it's really pretty rough trying to find people to that you want to hang out with, and that you'd want to marry. Because I think the pickings are pretty slim. So that's it. That's the final reason why you should absolutely not come to Vegas. Clearly, the serious ones are the gambling addiction, thinking you're going to be a professional bettor, and alcohol issues. This is not a place to be hanging out if you have issues with any of those guys. And by the way, this is especially true with regards to the finding a mate and the professionalism. If you come from a place like a big city, L.A., New York, San Francisco, wherever. You're gonna freak when you deal with some of these people here. All right, that's it. We're gonna take a quick break, and then we'll be right back. This is the Living in Las Vegas podcast on the Vegas Video Network. This episode of Living in Las Vegas is brought to you by the Vegas Video Co-op. Because your online presence is often your only chance to begin a meaningful sales conversation, please take a moment and visit VegasVideoCoop.com. Highlight your business, start a talk show, or unleash your genius for a low monthly fee. Use promo code LiLV for a special discount to our viewers and listeners. That's VegasVideoCoop.com. Do it. It's part of the time where we talk a little bit to our fans, our viewers. All you have to do to be a part of this segment is send an email right there to onairq at livinginlv.com. Again, onairq at livinginlv.com. What do we got today? We're going to start with a voicemail. Got a voicemail from Gregor. Gregor is in the live chat. Now, I will set this up after our live show here. It's not uncommon for us to be on for another 45 minutes, sometimes even an hour, just kind of shooting the shit with the folks in the live chat. And we were talking a little bit about Prince last week, and Gregor made a couple comments, and he felt like he needed to clarify what he said. And here's what Gregor had to say.
Hi, Scott and Brett. It's Gregor Tappa. Listen, I'm sorry for my comment via chat room in regards to Prince. I know you are a musician, and I've been following it for a while. I wrote it because I do think it's going to come to light that his condition, that he potentially did have HIV and AIDS as a contributing to his untimely death with the oppressed immune system. I could be wrong, and if I am, I will compensate you. In addition to, if the Dallas Stars lose to the Blues, I will compensate Brett. So I'll send you guys something to the studio, but I really enjoy the show. And hopeful to be out there in a few weeks for a visit. All right, take care. Bye.
Okay, so here's what was said. Here's the deal. The issue I had is, this all came up because a reporter here, kind of a vapid weather guy who's decided he wants to be a sports or a broadcaster with his wife. It posted something on Facebook that said it was reported back in the 90s that Prince had AIDS. And I'm like, what in the hell are you doing? You're supposed to be a professional broadcaster. What in the fuck are you thinking saying something like that? Whether it's true or not, you don't do that. So we started talking about, and by the way, my theory on Prince is that he died. Have you ever heard the line, he was busted driving while black? He died because he was living while rich. And the only reason why he died, in my opinion, is because he was rich. And he created an environment where people couldn't tell him no. So he surrounded himself with sycophants who didn't want to say no because they wanted to be in his aura and they wanted his money. And he created an environment where he just didn't understand the word no. There's a great video online on YouTube with Kevin Smith. He's a guy who did Silent Bob and whatever goes to whatever. He's an amazing storyteller. He does a 30-minute talk about his interaction with Prince. And part of it, he was trying to tell Prince, no, you can't do something. And he was talking to Prince's assistant, and the assistant said, we don't tell Prince no. He just doesn't understand it. What do you mean? He goes, Prince could wake up at 3 in the morning and go, I need a camel. Now, this is in the winter in Minnesota, and he wouldn't get a no. He expects it to happen. He doesn't understand the concept. So he's like, if you want to tell him no, you got to tell him no. And it's like, well, I'll tell him no, but I don't get this. Well, that's what killed him. He likely died of, most people are thinking a drug overdose, Percocet, cocaine, whatever it is. But no one could tell him no. He died while rich. That was the deal. What I don't like is people claiming they understand content where in fact they do. Yeah, affluenza actually is kind of the deal as well. So I just didn't dig the whole, I think he's got AIDS. My guess is he doesn't have AIDS. But, what's interesting is nobody could tell him no except for the Jehovah Witnesses. They could tell him no, as in, no, you can't have a hip transplant because you have to have a blood transfusion, and you can't have a blood transfusion, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard, because why on earth would a transfusion of your blood move you away from your higher power? How in the hell does that have any logic to it? But he would believe that, but he couldn't have somebody say, maybe you should pump the brakes on the Percocet. Bullshit. Okay, next question, or first question, is from Jim Gallagher. Jimmy 2G's in the live chat today, I believe. He goes, hello, guys. Love your show. I am planning on moving to Las Vegas. Are scorpions and other insects, snakes, etc., a big problem there? Allow me to tell you a little story about a lovely couple. This lovely couple, we'll call them Scott and Melissa. They bought their home in Las Vegas in October of 2003. They took possession in April 2004, and they finally moved to that house brand new in August of 2005, which means they owned the house before moving here for a little over a year. It was August of 2005. It was sunny and beautiful out. The Whitneys, a lovely couple. You should meet them sometime. Pull up to their new house. Very excited. I've left California. Their stuff's coming, the next day in a big van. Truck, whatever the hell it was. We get out, and Scott was probably holding his 2 guitars at the time, or 2 of his guitars at the time, ready to walk up to their house. Double-door house. Pretty fancy. And they walk up to the porch, and they go to put the key in, and they look down, and, look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, there's 4 black widow spiders down there. What the fuck? What's going on? So guess what? There is a crap load of critters here in Las Vegas. And I do mean a crap load. How many black widow spiders have I seen since being in Las Vegas? Let's say 15, maybe. Easy, without even breathing hard. How about scorpions? Those little freaky little creatures. Now, I have not seen any scorpions, but I've got friends who've dealt with scorpions. They is out there. How about cockroaches? Yeah. Now, they're not the same cockroaches you see in Biloxi, Mississippi, where you can put a holster or whatever you call those damn things, saddle, and fucking ride it out to the water. They're not that big, but they're hanging out. So the bad news, there are critters a lot here in the Las Vegas. But here's the great thing. There are also a shitload of exterminators in Las Vegas. And the exterminators that we have are awesome. We have never had a bug problem in the house. And as a matter of fact, probably 2 feet outside of the house, they don't come around. They don't hang out because they die. Now, we have had an occasional, ant issue inside the house, and I don't mean your mom's sister. I mean little bugs. But think about it. If you're an ant, it's 145,000 degrees outside. Where are you going? Well, you're going in the house. But we had our exterminator guy come in, and he just did a little squirty spray. Problem solved. So, yep, Greg, there are bugs here, but the good news is there are lots and lots of exterminators. I can give you a recommendation for one that I use that is outstanding, and you're going to be fine. There's really not much problem with that. Okay, next question from, let's see, who's this? Haley. Haley writes, hello, I'm new to the show. I currently live in Kentucky, about 2 minutes from Churchill Downs. We were just talking about Kentucky in the live chat before the show. My fiance has an amazing job opportunity and will be moving there in 3 or 4 months, right in the middle of summer. How hard is the transition? What's the best and worst parts of living in Las Vegas? I currently work at Crackle Barrel, and I'm wanting to transfer to one of the 2 locations on each side of the strip. I'm nervous, but excited at the same time. Please comment. Well, first of all, Haley, welcome almost to Las Vegas. If you don't do any of the things we talked about at the top of the show, this is a pretty cool place to live. We've talked about this many times. The big play here is the cost of living is low. Now, I don't know what it compares to Kentucky. I don't really have a sense for what their cost of living there is. I have a friend who just moved from there to San Diego. As I recall, he had a pretty good-sized house I think it was more expensive than living here. But this is a great town. There's great food, great restaurants, great food, great entertainment. That 24-hour thing I told you about, which is bad for gamblers and drunks, it's good if you can handle either one of those things. So it's a lot of fun. You're never going to want for something to do. By the way, you're going to also get visitors if you move to Las Vegas. So if you don't like people, don't come here because people are a-coming. But the best part is the quality time you have with friends who come to Vegas is usually much better than the time you used to spend with them because you've got, lives. But when they come to Vegas, they're focused on hanging out with you. So I think you'll like it. The good news is that your fiance has a great opportunity for a job. So I will say this. I've heard a couple people, this has been mostly, I think, well, actually, no. I was going to say show business folks, but this has happened. I've heard a couple other stories. Make sure he has a written contract for the deal. I've heard stories where people have been offered a job, they come out here, and they show up, and the building is empty. Where'd everybody go? No recourse. So now they find themselves in Las Vegas with no job, probably no contacts, no friends. That's a problem. So you got to make sure that you do, due diligence. Make sure this company is legit. Make sure he's got a written offer, and, ask the tough questions. What's my out in case you guys bail? But you should have a good time here. I don't hear a lot of people bitching and moaning other than the reasons I told you before. All right. Let's see what we got next. Glenn Santa. Glenn's in the live chat. Glenn was here recently with his beautiful wife, Kelly. We had a chance to dine with them at Echo and Rig a couple weekends ago. Glenn writes, Scott. Hi, Scott. You may remember some time ago I emailed you about the great experience I had at Vidara last August with their VIP arrival. So this is a special VIP package that you can get with Vidara. They offered these services for only $120. My wife and I were so happy with everything after our stay that we were going to make the Vidara our go-to property from now on. Well, those services have changed quite a bit since August. So much so that we will most likely not stay there ever again. This is what happened. I'll list for you what we got before and what we got in our last trip, which was just last week. So VIP arrival, last trip, picked up at the airport in a beautiful stretch limo. This trip, picked up in a Ford Explorer. Hopefully it's not a Ford Bronco Explorer. Is that the same thing? I don't know. White, guy in the background. Want to shoot himself. Last trip, a concierge was waiting for us at the curb as soon as we arrived to greet us and give us a tour of the property. This trip, no one was there, and the bellman had to search for somebody. Last trip, our room was ready for us for early check-in, and the concierge brought us up to that room personally. Sounds pretty cool, doesn't it? This trip, waited in the lobby with the bellman for about 10 minutes until they found the concierge, was told the room wasn't ready, and had to wait 2 more hours until we could get to our room. No one escorted up to our room. By the way, Vidar is one of the few places where you have to valet park. There is no just your own free parking. Last trip, the Keurig coffee maker was located in the room, and every day new K-Cups were brought up to our room. This trip, the Keurig was taken out of all rooms. If you wanted one, it was $20 a day. We opted out of that. $20 a day. Come on, MGM. Last trip, turned down service included some type of food item in the room each night. Things like fruit, cookies, chocolates, etc. Sometimes a personalized note was left, as well as asking if they could do anything else to make our stay more enjoyable. This trip, our bed was made, and no treats or notes. So, as you can see, it was a major change and a major letdown. MGM Resorts is definitely on my shit list. There are plenty of other properties out there. I can't say I will never stay at an MGM property again, but I'll try like hell not to. When the parking fees kick in, it will certainly make my decision not to stay there a lot easier. What gives? If they keep doing these kinds of things to their loyal customers, I would think people will start looking elsewhere for their accommodations. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Well, Glenn, and this is Glenn from Syracuse, who's in the live chat right now, a longtime viewer. I think Glenn is actually a perfect example of these properties have to be careful. Now, the properties know more about whether they give a shit about the Glens or not. But Glenn is one of those people who come here not once. He's not coming here for 4.4 days, which is the new average amount of time somebody spends on a vacation. So they come for 4.4 days. They spend about $400, $500, and they bail. That's not what Glenn's doing. Glenn and Kelly are here. They're here a couple of weeks. I don't know how much they're spending thousands of dollars on food, on drink, on entertainment, on gambling. They're big time. And these properties do know that because I'm sure they're part of the reward system. So you would think that you would want to cater to that. And the answer is I don't know why that's not happening. Maybe it was a one-off. I would probably, if I were Glenn, reach out to them and say, hey, Glenn's in the live chat. He goes, well, maybe not that much money. Okay, fair enough. He just came across, he got me a really nice visor. I figured that thing was worth about $1,000. If I were Glenn, what I would do is, remember I said that you don't normally get negative feedback? Of course, the opposite of that is the bullshit thing you see on Yelp. But if I were Glenn, I'd probably reach out and to the concierge, or maybe I'd ask for a manager. And he probably doesn't have a casino host, but I'd reach out and write this. I would say, this is what happened. What happened? Should I take you guys off my list? Is this the new thing? What was the reason for the change? I'd ask the tough questions and see if they can answer. And if they can't answer to your satisfaction, then I think you're right. I think you find another property. If it's a Caesars property or a Wynn or Sands or whoever, they're not so good that they can treat people poorly. And if you're paying that extra money, you want to be treated. And especially if what they just did is the standard. They overpromised, underdelivered, and that's a mistake in sales. So my take on that is let them know, and maybe next time you can hang out at the Arches at Whitney Villa. All right, we'll do a quick RQS. Again, thanks to Pops for sending in that video at the beginning of the show. We would love for you guys to do the same thing. It's super easy. Just send a video, and basically the flow is like this. Hi, I'm Dave Smith from Effingham, Illinois, and you're watching the Living in Las Vegas podcast on the Vegas Video Network. And then you can say anything after that you'd like. You want to make sure, if you're using a phone, to shoot it in landscape. That's portrait, that's landscape. And then send it off to onairq@livinginlv.com. Again, the email is right there, onairq@livinginlv.com. All right. Here's my one quick story. A huge mistake, speaking of MGM, at the Mirage. So this weekend, we were out hanging out with Jackie. Or Saturday we were. And after eating at Aria, we decided to head over to Mirage. She was staying there. And she wanted us to check out a new bar there, and specifically because there is a trio playing there that she wanted us to check out. So this new bar is called the Parlor Bar. And when I first walked in, I took a bunch of pictures because it was going to be eventual have a drink on me, a hat on place. That's never going to happen. I haven't seen a place fuck up service in a bar like this, and I don't even know how long. So we get in there. It's not busy. It's not a huge place. I don't know. It maybe holds, 10, 20, 30, maybe 80, 90 people. I don't know. Not a lot. It was probably half full. We walked right in, had a large couch that probably could have held 4 or 5 people in 2 chairs, so like in one of those corner units. Sat right down, and we sat. And there was a gal playing ukulele who was like the break gal. She wasn't the real band. And so we're, watching the ukulele girl play basically the same song a row every single time. Different words, different lyrics, but basically the same style. And we're waiting, and we're waiting, and we're waiting, and we're waiting, and tick-tock, about 15 minutes. Now, there is a waitress. I saw her. She's walking around. Not sure if she recognized that we were there. Not sure if the heat sensing device was working or not. But she kept walking and kept walking and kept walking. 15 minutes, maybe even 20. I'm like, okay, well, that's enough. We need to get a drink. So I get up and head to the bar, and the gal starts walking my way. I said, hey, any chance of getting a drink? And she got kind of snotty with me. Yeah, I'll get it. So I said, no, it's okay. I'll take care of it at the bar. Head of the bar. And I stand there, and I got a guy with the big mustache, and he's Mr. Guy, and he's obviously a mixologist. He's very good. You could tell. But I guess part of being a mixologist means that you don't really pay attention to the guy standing there. Again, it wasn't a packed bar. There was nobody to the left or right of me. It was pretty clear I was there. Eventually, he did recognize that I was there, and he's one of those guys. Hey, brother, what's going on, pal? What can I do for you? Well, I'd like to get a couple drinks. Here's what I'd like. And then so he starts talking again to other people. I'm like, what are you doing? Eventually, he makes our drinks, and I will say this about that: the drinks were outstanding. I had Melissa had a cranberry and vodka. I had a Moscow Mule. I didn't have the brass glass, but it was still pretty good. And Jackie had a water. It was a fancy water, though. She had a piece of something in there, some fruit or whatever. And, 2 drinks, $30, which is kind of standard fare. So we went back and hung out and watched the band play, and the band was great. And they were pitching vodka that Ron White was going to be pitching later on that night. I'm like, okay, we got to go. Shame, because it was a cute little bar. But and I left a note in my tab. I left my card and said, hey, have your manager give me a call. I have a question. Now, when he called, that's right, he never called. He didn't call. Maybe MGM's not paying attention. I don't know, but you can't do that. You can't. And clearly Mirage is trying to raise the bar a little bit. They've improved their high roller area. They've created this bar. They're trying to attract a higher class group of folks. But if you're going to attract these people, they need you to actually behave. Do the work you promised to do. And if you're not willing to do the work, well, then that's not my problem if we decide we're not coming back. All right, let's have a drink.
Have a drink on me. Have a drink on me. Come on. Yeah.
All right, it's time for that part of the show where I have a drink and you tell me where I had it. Now, here's what happens. You're going to send an email to haveadrink@vegasvideonetwork.com. Have a drink, vegasvideonetwork.com. How does it work? I'm going to show you a picture of a bar or a lounge or a pub that I've been to, and I'm going to give you 3 guesses. If you can guess where it is, and we put your name in a hat, and we pull your name out, you can win some fabulous prizes. Like what, Scott? Well, that's a reasonable question. You can win a lovely Vegas Video Network visor. They come in 3 colors: khaki, red, or, like my heart, black. Wait, you like music? Well, so do I. Do you like Christmas music? We've got a couple Christmas CDs. These are the Christmas acoustic CDs there. Maybe you like the acoustic jazz, like this. Not the end of the show. In fact, this is from Gin and Tonic. Oh, yeah. Okay. Or, preferably, you can have a drink on your buddy Scott. By the way, I'm having a have a drink on me with a winner, and I picked Cinco de Mayo to do that. That's a good thing you don't have to be smart to run your own company. Okay. First time in a long time that we had 100% correct. By the way, we've got UK studio. Oh my God, we've got London. Well, we've got England in the house. What's happening, brother? 29 out of 29, 100% for everybody. Very impressive team. I'm so very proud of you. Now, there are other ways to win, by the way. If you are the very first person to include a correct answer via email, we're going to double your stuff. If you provide one of the videos that we do at the opening of the show, we'll give you another one of those as well. If you show a picture of the Jazzathon CD in the wild, which includes a picture of you, like, for example, there's Ken in Hawaii with that CD. There's the CD in Russia. And there's a CD being used to make a baby even smarter. If you're doing that, well, I'm going to give you a double as well. Now, why are people even doing this? See, that's a great question. Probably one of the most requested Have a Drink on Me things is the Vegas Video Network Visor. Why? Because it transforms you. It changes who you are. You are no longer a mere mortal. No, please. No. If you get yourself a Vegas Video Network Visor and you send a picture to us, you become a member of the gallery or galaxy of gods.
There's Rob and Glenn. There's Jimmy, 2Gs, and Bob and his wife. And then there is our friend Stuart. He's in Russia. There's Biggie and Bud. Their new talk show is gonna be on the CW. There's Craig and Michael and Scott. There's Shan, not Chan, but wait. There's Alan and his better half, Aaron. There's the two of them at a nudist colony. There is Pops and Sammy and your buddy Scott. And there's more, about that. There's Jackie at Arches. There's Christina, whose babies come because of my music and breast. And there's Don and a dog and Wayne and Kit. There's Mike, look out for Mike. And wait, there's Danny. And finally, our buddy Brett. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Let's look at last week's Have a Drink on Me. Boink. Boink. There it is. The clues were the wine cellar and tasting room, wine cellar, tasting room, wine cellar and tasting room at the Rio. Yes, very good, very good. 29 out of 29. I think I'm making these too damn easy. We're going to fix that next week, or this week, I mean. Okay, let's see what we got. All right, let's do it this way so I can see who's in the live chat. All right, Mike Q. Let's get this up. All right. Mike Q. He gets 1 for the correct answer. He gets 1 for being the first one in the live chat, or I'm sorry, the first one for the right question, and Mike's in the live chat. So Mike just got a triple. What do you think of that, Mike? Oh, boy. Hoo-wee. Ken Anderson, 1 for the correct answer, 1 for being in the live chat, I believe. Double checking. You in there, Ken? Oh, maybe he's not in there. Oh, no, he's not in there. Okay, cool. All right. Pops, 1 for the correct answer, 1 for the opening video. And we'll get another one later on. Tom Yu. Uglin. Okay. Monica Fagan, 1 for the correct answer. Gary Romberg, known as Mr. Testy. We've got Penny Gregory, I think he's a past winner from Plymouth, North Carolina. We've got John Herman from New York City. We've got Jimmy Gallagher, Jimmy 2Gs. Jimmy gets 1 for the correct answer. Jimmy gets another 1 for being in the live chat. Way to go, Jimmy. Christina V, having babies because of my music. Rob C, Rob068, Pittsburgh in the live chat. But he's not in there today. Aaron Perry. Michael, this is a hard, Gers Whiskey from, how do you pronounce Ixonia, Wisconsin? Ixonia? No, he's in there. Okay. Bob McAdams, Baba Louie from Bloomington, Illinois. One for the correct answer. He's also in the live chat. Hey, Bobby, what's going on, brother? Michael Snow, Chicago Snowman. One for the correct answer. One for being in the live chat. Telling you, double your pleasure, folks. Get in the live chat when you can. Steve I, the wise guy. Steve's got one for the correct answer, one for the live chat. And Steve gets another one because I think he told me I missed it last week. He sent me the proof. He did. If I miss you, by the way, because my spam filter got it, just send me, and the next time that you do it, send me proof that you sent it. I'll put you in again. So Steve's got a triple. All right. Next up. Andrew Z. I think Andrew. Andrew was in, we did a little Periscope video ahead of time. I'm not sure if he's in there right now or not. He writes, he loves the podcast and loves Vegas. Barb Shotness from Salem, Wisconsin. He writes, been watching on Roku for a while. Love the show. Caught the live show last couple weeks. Barb is in the live chat. There she is. Hope to get in the live chat. She is in the live chat. There she is. Okay, Barb, way to go. Barb is an interesting subject in that the majority of people who watch us live aren't in the live chat, which is surprising given how cool the live chat people are. But she gets a double. Kevin Whip from Canada. Kevin writes, by the way, I didn't cheat last week. Survey says, no, you did cheat. But we still love you. All right. Mike Beatty. Mike writes, have a beautiful Las Vegas day for me. Isn't that nice? And he's still sucking in the miserable Chicago. Sorry. Andy Schulman from New Hampshire, a previous winner. Andy writes, because I won 2 weeks ago, don't enter me, just playing along. He selected the first CD, Crisp Acoustic. By the way, Andy, we're going to be sending that to you this week. Andy is going to take care of that. I was going to do it last week, but I forgot. But I am putting you in just because you asked me not to, because you're one of those great guys. All right, Eric Hansen, Airport Limbo. Boom, boom, boom. He was there for a while, not there now. By the way, he was sorry he couldn't be in the live chat last week. See how nice even when they're not here, they want to be. Then finally, Brett Barnes from Paradise, California. Great show, guys. Yahoo! All right. And we continue. Next up, we've got Laura Meekin. Laura writes, hey, Scott and Brett. I searched like you suggested and have come up with the Rio's Wine Cellar tasting room for this week's Haddam. By the way, here's what happened. She was watching us on YouTube, and she commented a lot about a variety of things. And then the Haddam thing came up. She said, I can't figure out this week's Haddam. I'm like, wait a minute. Really look at the clues. The clues really tell you, especially look at the third clue, which talked about its location. And so she, like 5 minutes later, she entered. I feel like a fraud for Googling it. No, the Google is your friend. Scott, trust me, your weather is better than ours. Now we just had hail, snow, rain, and sun all on the same day. It's a bit crazy. Roll on to my holidays. Enjoy the sun, warmth, pool, and air conditioner. Thank you, Laura. Next up, we've got Alan Perry. Alan writes. And I think Alan's in the live chat. Oh, yeah, there he is. So Alan gets one for the correct answer. Alan gets another one for being in the live chat. A rare occurrence. Welcome, my brother. And Alan writes, hey, guys. They had him this week. It's the wine cellar and tasting room at the Rio. Aaron and I used to love the Rio. We have stayed there 3 or 4 times in the past, but not anymore recently. The place is really showing its age. I wish CET, it's Caesars Entertainment, would either fix the place up or put it on the market. there is a lot to still love at the Rio, including this particular bar. It would be nice to get the Rio back to a place where it is worth it to venture from the Strip. With all of the new stuff that will be coming to the Strip and to downtown, the Rio, Palms, and other resorts that are away from the tourist corridor really need to step up their game to stay relevant. Alan, by the way, he's right. I was driving by there this weekend to go to Aria and thought the same thing about Palms. The sign was kind of faded. It just looked kind of dark. Now, Alan, right after that, sent another email, because his goal is to write a novel. Hey, guys, an extra email regarding this week's Haddam. Aaron and I are less than a month out from beginning our summer trip scheduled to Vegas. They live in Prescott, I've told you before. They come to Las Vegas. It's another example of people who listen to our show who come to Vegas quite a bit. If you're a casino, you should be listening to this show because these guys care. First up, Memorial Day weekend, actually a 5-day weekend. Nice being retired. Been putting together a pub crawl based upon Haddam bars since the last time we were in town. Looking only at strip bars, we have 18 bars to visit. Sounds like a daunting task. Aaron says that we should be finished by day 2. We shall see. Cheers, guys. Looking forward to returning to our favorite city. I've had a couple people say we take your Haddam stuff, we map it out on Google Maps, and we do a pub crawl. Very cool. Maybe we should do that. We should have like a listener meetup and then, just pub crawl. I get a van or something. A van. Probably more than a van. Glenn Santa. Glenn is in the live chat. Is he just buying palms? No. Not that I'm aware of. I don't know. One for the correct answer, one for being in the live chat. Glenn writes. Actually, Craig. That should be Craig. What the hell is that? Did you write something, Glenn? Oh, yeah, here it is. That's funny. Glenn writes, finally a favorite of ours. It's the Wine Cellar at Rio. Excellent wine and great atmosphere. However, the by-the-glass wines are very expensive, so beware. Fair enough. And finally, we got Craig Daughtry, Vegas Dog 222. And he gets one for that correct answer. And he gets one for being in the live chat. Past winner. He's been to Las Vegas more years than I have. He owns a property here. Comes out. Craig writes, greetings once again to my brothers from another mother. This week's Haddam is a hidden gem known as the Rio Las Vegas Wine Cellar and Tasting Room. Bam! Always love the show, Vegas Dog Out. By the way, when I used to live in California, when we had our house here, but we didn't live here, I played 2 gigs. I was flown out for 2 gigs, solo guitar gigs. One of them was at the Mansion at MGM, and the other was at this place right here, the Wine Cellar and Tasting Room at Rio. It's a nice property. Okay, next up, we've got Glenn. I'm sorry, not Glenn. Gene. Here's your other entry. Boink. And Gene gives us this.
Hey, kids. This week's winning Haddam answer is the Wine Cellar and Tasting Room at the fabulous Rio Casino and Suites in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. I've spent a lot of time on the slot floor where you'll find bevertainers, cocktail waitresses who dance and sing, nearly naked wearing almost underwear. But I digress. Back to the Wine Cellar. They advertise more than 10,000 bottles of wine and more than 100 bottles of wine by the glass. They advertise hard-to-find cult wines like Fat Bastard. And of course, its companion wine, Bitch. So next time you're in Vegas, go to Rio, get a ticket to Penn and Teller, and see
These nuts!
Got him.
All right, I actually have to read a little bit what Gene wrote along. This week's Haddam is a Rio wine. I only have nice things to say about Rio. So we've got one group of people saying it's falling apart, and then we've got Pop saying it's pretty cool. The showroom staff went way above and beyond to help my son and his friend when they mistakenly booked a Penn and Teller tickets the wrong night. Not only did they make sure that they got in to see the show, but they got them the same top quality seats they had originally purchased. Rio may also be tied to Suncoast for the most barely there cocktail waitress uniforms. I'm just old, not dead. Having a ball, playing along, that's the only prize I need. So you know what to do if my name is drawn. Give it to somebody else. And by the way, he says I stole every fucking trick in my video from Bob. homage to Bobby from Pops. And finally, we've got Bob. One for the correct answer, one for the live chat, and one for this opus. Boo-doo-doo-doo. Here you go, Bobby.
Hey guys, this week's bar is the Wine Cellar and Tasting Room. Located at the Rio Hotel and Casino, it showcases some 10,000 bottles of wine, valued at more than $10 million. As you stroll upon rustic stone tile, passing through rock and brick archways, you'll come across rare collectibles like a bottle of 1800 Madeira from Thomas Jefferson's cellar. The bar at the Wine Cellar and Tasting Room is a unique Las Vegas wine experience, offering more than 100 wines by the glass. Hey Brett, now Scott can really do his thumb trick. You guys have a good one, and we'll see you next week.
You know, you look at Bob, and he seems like a mild-mannered guy, retired, kind of easygoing. This guy used to be like the mad nightclub bar guy in Boston. You look at him like, you know what you're thinking. You're like, well, if you're tough, you don't have to act tough. I get it. All right, let's see who wins the big prize. Last count, we have 400 entries. You go, Bob. Good job, Bob. Everybody loves Bob. People are still debating the vibe of Rio in the live chat as well. Bob is a genius. Big dogs don't bark. That's funny. Okay, here we go. That's a good one. Okay, we got a winner. The winner is Baba Louie. Baba Louie. First time winner. Congratulations, Bobby. You get yourself a visor, you get yourself a CD, or you get yourself a drink on me. I'll send you an email and let you know all about that. Okay, let's look at today's Have a Drink on Mosky. There it is. Here's today's Have a Drink on Me. Okay, 3 clues. Clue number 1. If you're not guilty, it's because you have a very strong one of these. If you're not guilty, well, it's because you have a very strong one of these. Hint number 2. The name of the casino and this bar are an alliteration. The name of this casino and this bar are an alliteration. Emphasis on the letter A. And hint number 3, are you hungry? Well, there's a French pastry shop not 20 steps away. If you're hungry, good news, there is a French pastry shop not 20 steps away. Again, you're going to send your answer to haveadrink@vegasvideonetwork.com. Again, haveadrink@vegasvideonetwork.com. Good luck to you. All right, that's it, everybody. Thanks, everybody in the live chat, for playing along. Hey, if you want to ask us a question that we answer on the show, it's super easy to do. Just send an email to onairq@livinginlv.com. Again, onairq@livinginlv.com. Perhaps you want to be like Gregor and have your voice heard. Well, that's easy as well. All you do is go to our website, click the little red tab on the right-hand side, and once you click that, a window will pop up. You'll click the green button and you'll go ahead and leave that voicemail because you have a microphone attached to your computer. Hey, we're all over the place. We're on the iTunes. If you're watching or listening to us on iTunes, give us a 5-star review. If you're checking us out on the YouTube, give us a thumbs up and share us with your friends. By the way, besides iTunes and YouTube, we're on Roku. Over 32,000 accounts have been installed. We're on Stitcher, TuneIn, Chromecast, Apple, Google, and Fire TV. We're now on Google Play, one of the first podcasts to be up there. And, of course, we're on the Vegas Video Network website as well. All right, everybody, thanks very much. We'll see you guys next week. What else I want to say? Nothing. Live chat people are awesome. You guys are awesome. Take care, everybody. This is Living in Las Vegas podcast on the Vegas Video Network. tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a